Okay, hold on. Okay, hold up. I know exactly what you guys are thinking. Monado Max, you're hating on Sonic. Sonic's the greatest thing of all time. No, Sonic Frontiers, Game of the Year. Why are you hating on Sonic? No. Guys, I'm just talking about the Nintendo Switch version of Sonic Frontiers. I know there's going to be so many hate comments on this video. I actually predicted this is going to be my most controversial video on this channel. I think it's going to be more controversial than Sora never being in Smash Bros. Videos. Oh, wow. What a timeline. I forgot about those. I'm not a fan of Sonic Frontiers on the Switch. Let's just get straight into it. Okay, so obviously on this channel, I have done a lot of Nintendo Switch reviews on ports. I've done many top 10s talking about my favorite third-party ports. I'm very passionate with the third-party Nintendo Switch library. I think it makes great discussion because there's some really good ports out there. There's some really bad ports out there. There's an in-between. There's a lot that I like talking about with Switch ports. I think it makes such a great conversation and makes great videos. So when these games come to the Switch, I'm always very intrigued because I'm instantly thinking, how's this game gonna run? Is it gonna run great? How's it gonna look? I'm very intrigued with this stuff when it comes to the Switch. I know it sounds crazy, but I think that might be one of the reasons why I love the Switch so much is because of ports. Some good, some bad. It just makes great discussion. When Sonic Frontiers got announced, I was like, yeah, that's definitely not coming to the Switch. And if it is coming to the Switch, they're going to be doing a lot of development on it. It's not going to come out day one with the other platforms. It got announced to be on the Nintendo Switch. I instantly worried about that. Because if you guys don't know, I'll never forget this. Before Sonic Forces came out on the Switch, this was like 6 months before it came out on the Switch. My editor's probably gonna try to find this on the internet. I remember finding an article where they talk about that the developers were struggling to put Sonic Forces on the Nintendo Switch. They were struggling to get it to run well on the Switch. They even struggled to get it at 30 frames per second. Obviously, Sonic Forces came out. I felt like that game actually did pretty well on the Switch. It ran well on the Switch, I felt. Obviously, if you compare the two, you'll see the difference, but and as far as I remember, I don't remember losing a frame rate with that game. But hearing that developers were struggling on the Switch within the first year of the Switch got me literally worried, especially considering it was Sonic. And I was instantly thinking about Sonic Frontiers being like, oh no, is this going to be the same process? And Sonic Frontiers, and again guys, I'm going to be talking about the game later. We're talking about the Switch port first in this review, because that's why you clicked on this video. You want to know my thoughts on the Switch version. So I'm going to be very negative right now, but I'm going to be talking about the game later. But the Switch version, this isn't it, guys. This isn't it. This is not the way to play the game. This is probably going to shock you considering how well I talk about Switch ports on this channel, but this game doesn't work for me on the Nintendo Switch. When you open up the game, the cutscenes are not the greatest already, and when I turned on the game, the blue on Sonic was not correct. I don't know if it was something with the updates or whatever, but Sonic didn't even look like Sonic when I was playing the Switch version in the opening. Later on, Sonic started to look more like his normal self, but even then, the blue on Sonic doesn't look that great on the Switch. This game, when it's in its open world phase, it's all over the place on the Nintendo Switch. It is absolutely all over the place because, as you'll see in some of the gameplay footage, the pop-in on the Switch version is absolutely insane. Like, it is bad. It is really bad and very noticeable. One of the things with Switch ports is developers, I feel like, do a good job of hiding these type of things to make them not noticeable. Sonic Frontiers does not do that. It is instantly noticeable. And when it rains, it's even more noticeable in some of the areas of the game because, listen, the game just graphically doesn't look well in its open world phase. I will say when you're playing a traditional Sonic level, you know, this 3D Sonic levels, you don't really notice it, but when you're in the open world side of Sonic, which a majority of this game is in that open world, you're gonna notice this. I will give it props for the levels though, because on the levels, it looks normal, it looks fine. You can't really notice the pop-in or anything like that because it looks great. It's just when you're in this open world scheme of Sonic Frontiers, it's very noticeable and I don't like it. It's very noticeable, and as somebody that is a big Sonic fan, I kind of wish I didn't buy this on the Switch because, like, and that's going to be the first time you're going to hear me say that, because I wish I would have experienced this on my PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series X, because there's a major graphics difference, there's a major and like, I normally don't care, but this stuff is very noticeable on the Switch version, especially when you're speeding around the whole area. You just see so many pop-ins, so many textures not loading in. There's a lot of issues with the Switch version, and it's very surprising to me to see the Switch version be this way. Like, I know we talked about Sonic Forces not apparently running great when they were trying to bring that to the Switch, but I've also realized this year we've had some of our greatest Nintendo Switch ports that come out. We had Persona 5 Royale on the Nintendo Switch this year, and I know Sega did that port. I know it wasn't Atlas. I don't know what company does these Switch ports. I don't know if it was the same company that did Persona 5 Royale that did Sonic Frontiers Switch port, but Sega should have looked into that, because I don't understand how you got Persona 5 Royal to look so amazing on Switch and run amazing on Switch, and then you get something like this. And I know people are gonna be like, well, it's because it's an open world game, Max. I disagree with that. I heavily disagree with that. I believe that you can honestly put any game on the Switch if you put a lot of development time into it. We saw that with Nier Automata. Nier Automata is probably one of the best Switch ports too. That game is 1080p locked at 30 frames per second in docked mode. And there's like zero pop-in that I noticed in that game. If you look at that game's gameplay on the Switch, Nier Automata looks absolutely amazing. And that game, I feel like, demands more than what Sonic Frontiers demands. So if you can get Nier Automata looking perfect on the Switch, you should be able to get Sonic Frontiers looking perfect on the Switch. And I think what it really comes down to, what it really honestly comes down to, the only reason why this version isn't as great as it should have been is because Sega was so focused on getting this to come out day one with the other platforms. We've seen with other Switch ports that sometimes they delay the Switch version to make it a better version of the game. Sega knows that this is probably going to sell best on Switch. I'm pretty sure there's articles out there that's shown that Sonic Forces sold best on Switch. So they knew that they had to get this day one with the Switch, or the PlayStation and Xbox versions, because the Switch sales are going to be very important to Sonic Frontiers since it was so important to Sonic Forces. So I'm in a whirlwind of emotions here, because I get why they released it day one. I just feel like there was more things they could have done here to make this better. I felt like they didn't do a good job of trying to make it perfect on Switch when it really should be. I will say that one thing that I've seen people talk about with the Switch version of Sonic Frontiers is that people feel like it needs to be played in docked mode rather than handheld mode. In all honesty, I feel like handheld mode is the way to go for this game, because I only started noticing all these problems with Sonic Frontiers on the Switch when I played in docked. Graphically, I mean, you get better resolution, but I think when you're on a bigger screen, you notice this stuff more, and I honestly just preferred playing it on handheld. That way I didn't notice these things. It's kind of like, weirdly enough, Witcher 3. I prefer playing that in handheld mode rather than docked, because when I'm in handheld mode, I don't notice a lot of these issues, because it's, I guess, a smaller screen. But I feel like you should play this in handheld mode, especially with the OLED Switch. I mean, if you have an OLED model, this game can look, any game can look great with OLED. So if you have an OLED Switch, play this in handheld, and boom, OLED. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. But in terms of a Switch port, I can't recommend this. Like, we're going to be doing a top 10 third-party Switch games video soon, and this isn't going to be on there. I can't recommend this to you because I am not enjoying this game at its fullest because I'm playing it on the Switch. And it surprises me to say this because, listen, I love Doom 2016 on the Switch. I love Doom Eternal on the Switch. I love Dying Light on the Switch. You just heard me talk about Witcher 3. I love playing that on my Switch. Persona 5 Royal, I love playing that on my Switch. Nier Automata, there is so many third-party, like even Mortal Kombat. I know Mortal Kombat graphically looks horrible, but they chose bad graphics to get 60 FPS on the Switch. This just isn't the way to go because I'm not seeing enough pros to outweigh the cons with the Switch port of this game. I love Sonic Frontiers though. We're gonna start talking about why I like this game so much. But in terms of a Switch port, I cannot recommend this to you guys. Just being honest, because I feel like, considering all the videos I've done, I feel like I can say this, that I can't recommend that. Like, I just can't recommend you play playing this on the Switch. Unless, like, if this is, like, the only console you have, then yeah, buy the game, because it's a really good game. It's just on Nintendo Switch, I'm not impressed, considering everything that we've gotten this year with the Switch. This feels like a game that came out in 2017 from a developer that was still trying to learn the Switch. I don't know who did this port. I really hope Sega doesn't bring them back. I mean, I guess maybe it's just you needed more time with it. Delay the Switch version more to see how the game will work. I don't know. Like, we're seeing delays with, like, Hogwarts Legacy. That's supposed to come to Switch. They're delaying that to make the Switch version amazing. Midnight Suns, you know. But then again, we just talked about it, that they need the Switch sales for Sonic. So let's get into talking about how I feel about the game. So I didn't get a chance to actually finish the game. I've been extremely busy, but I do want to talk a few minutes of how I'm feeling with the game and what I'm comparing it to, how I'm feeling. I'm a big Sonic fan. I actually felt Sonic Forces was a mediocre game. I don't think it was bad, but it wasn't good. I've played all the Sonic 3D games pretty much. I've played Sonic Generations. That's an amazing game. I like Sonic Lost World. I know that's out there. I didn't play Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric, but I really don't need to play that. I mean, it's not a good game. It's not a good game. When Sonic Frontiers was announced, I was very pumped for it still. I have always been pumped for Sonic games. Obviously, Sonic has been down a dark road, and I feel like that dark road has finally ended with Sonic Frontiers because everybody is liking this game. And at least everyone that I'm connected to, I don't know how people actually feel, but I've enjoyed Sonic Frontiers a lot. I'm excited to see where the Sonic games go from here because there is some amazing things that happen in Sonic Frontiers. Like the Super Sonic boss fights, those are sick. Those are awesome. Like, that is an amazing gameplay implement that they put into Sonic Frontiers because they look amazing. The music is amazing as always in every Sonic game. I love the open world side of this game. Even though it doesn't look great on Switch, I think it's amazing to see Sonic doing new things. Like, this feels great. This feels like a step in the right direction with Sonic games. One thing that I see people compare this to, at least when it was announced, I saw people comparing it to Breath of the Wild because, you know, everybody compares games to Breath of the Wild nowadays. But after playing the game, this is going to be a weird comparison that I'm about to tell you all. Sonic Frontiers reminds me a lot of Death Stranding. And I know that sounds crazy, but a lot of these like mini boss fights that you get throughout the game when you're trying to get to certain areas, it just reminds me of these scenes that happen in Death Stranding when you had the BTs showing up out of nowhere. Because in a way, kind of reminds me how it shows up out of nowhere. I feel like a lot of these areas within Sonic Frontiers look very similar to Death Stranding to me. And I feel like gameplay-wise, it kind of reminds me of Death Stranding with the open world because you're collecting these memories for your friends that you're trying to save, like Amy, Knuckles, those type of guys. Just some of this stuff really reminds me of Death Stranding, and Death Stranding is one of my favorite games of all time. So being able to play a Sonic version of Death Stranding, I'm actually really enjoying it. I like the mixture. I don't know if that's a weird comparison to compare this game to Death Stranding, but I guess it's a fast version of Death Stranding. The combat in this game is also amazing. There's so much about this game that is amazing. I actually highly recommend this game. I just don't really recommend it on Switch unless the Switch is obviously your only choice of platform. The game is great though. I'm having so much fun with it. I wish I could have been able to finish the game before doing this review, but it would have been a dead topic by the time I finished the game, and no one cares. I more just want to talk about how I feel about the Switch version. I'm eventually going to buy this on PlayStation so I can really experience the game, because the game is super fun. I love it a lot. I think it deserves your money. I think it's already going on sale for $40 soon, so for $40, this is well worth it. $60 is well worth it. I was surprised to see how long the game is. I'm about like 6 hours into the game, and there's still a lot of things to do from a story point perspective, and I know to 100% the game, there's a lot to do. So I feel like that's pretty exciting because I feel like the last few Sonic games have been incredibly short. I don't remember, to be honest with you. I feel like a lot of these Sonic games have been short over the past few years, and this is a long one, at least from my point of view, unless I just suck at the game. I mean, that's very possible. But overall, I guess I'll give a score for the Switch port. I don't think I can really give a score for the game yet since I didn't beat it. but this is my rating for the Switch port. This is the Switch port. I'm not talking about the game itself. I'm talking about how I feel about the Switch version. So I don't want any of you Sonic fans being like, Monado Max is a Sonic hater, because I'm not a Sonic hater. I love Sonic. I've been through Sonic with its dark times. So from a Switch point of view, I feel like Sonic Frontiers is like a 5 out of 10. I can't recommend this for the Switch, and it's just not the way to play. A fast game like Sonic is just, it's not the way to go. When you play those 3D levels, you don't notice it, but the majority of the game is this open world side, and I noticed all of this stuff. It's still nonetheless a fun game. You should pay for it or play it, whatever. Even if you only have the Switch, you should still do it because it's still a great game. It's an amazing game. I can't wait to beat it. But I've been talking for way too much, guys. I want to know what you guys have to say about what I'm talking about. Do you agree with me on the Switch port? I feel like a lot of people that are watching this video have not actually played the Switch port. So if you are going to comment something about my review and how I'm wrong, let me know if you played the Switch port. I genuinely curious, and I don't mean that in a rude way. I'm just curious because I feel like a lot of the times people comment on stuff that they've never played, and a lot of the times with the Switch versions of games I've noticed that. But anyways, make sure to backslash that subscribe button. Check out the description. Check out the Twitter, Instagram, Discord server, Twitch, check out the Twitch, and all that good stuff. I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.